Hey everyone! So initially I was going to do another college video, but then I decided that it would be more entertaining if I told you what happened yesterday. I'm just going to tell you real quick that I had somehow developed a fear of needles ever since last year, where basically they asked me to have 5 tubes of blood to show that I have no varicella and no tuberculosis before I can volunteer at the hospital. So they managed to get about 4 tubes of blood off of my left arm when suddenly the blood just stopped flowing. I was just like, okay, what now? And so they decided to stab my right arm instead. The blood was flowing from my right arm for a while, and then I started to feel like I was blacking out. There was like white sensations all over my vision, and I was like jerking apparently, and no one could get blood. Well, I was fainting. So they decided to stop for a while and then have me drink something and then rest for a bit. And then one of the nurses decided that one of the tubes had a little bit of extra blood, so it can contribute to the fifth tube. And I didn't need to do a blood test anymore. Everything was fine. But because of this incident, I just somehow in my head have a fear of needles. Now I can talk about yesterday. My grandma was admitted to a hospital on Saturday, and then the maid was telling us about how my grandma ripped off the IV drip from her arm because she didn't want the IV drip inside her arm, and then the nurses had to insert another IV drip in. I don't know why, I just started to look at her IV drip. It was like a really, really huge box on her arm, and it just freaked me to the point where my vision started to turn white. My hearing started to become a little bit more muffled. And I was like, something is wrong. This is not normal. This is not good. I am not supposed to be feeling like this. And then I was just rushing to the chair, which was on the left side of the bed. And I was like to my mom, I need to sit down now. I need to sit down now. I was still like having a little bit of dizziness. My hearing is still muffled. And I was just like rocking. I was basically having some sort of seizure, and I was trying to like fall forward, but my mom was basically pushing me back. And my dad was telling me every single part of me started to go white. My mom realized that I was fainting and immediately went to the nurse to tell her, "Oh, she's fainting. I don't know what to do. Please help." And one of the nurses immediately went over to me and then started to take a blood pressure test on me. Apparently, my blood pressure had dropped to about 50 because of seeing my grandma's IV drip. The nurses graciously managed to get me onto a hospital bed, and then they basically wheeled me out of the ward and all the way over to the A&E. We had to only wait for maybe about 2 to 3 minutes before they just check up on me, then ECG, a blood pressure test. And by that time, everything was okay. My legs were propped up, my face had turned into normal now. And now my blood pressure was normal, ECG normal, everything was normal. But they still wanted to make sure that I was okay. So they headed me over to the doctor. I told the doctor everything that had happened. And it was just like he had vasovagal syncope, where basically whenever I see blood, my body would somehow have a trigger that would have me feel faint, dizzy, nausea, and everything. Technically, my grandma made me faint. Thanks, grandma. So yeah, I am going to have a college video sometime next week. That is on